How's everyone doing this morning? August 23rd, Falconelia. This is the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Just happy to be here with you guys this morning. Happy to share this message. And just hopefully we can get to a level of understanding. Everything is peaceful in this household until I go live and Lil John is turned up on cue, on schedule. So we're just in a frequency, we're just in a vibe, we're just, you know, tapped into higher forces, following our higher calling and illuminating the soul. And so to preface this talk, to understand this talk, we need to understand this quote, which is taken from the Revelation of Saint John. I don't know why I said it like that. The Revelation of Saint John, by Zachary Lansdowne. My favorite book by far. It's helped me so much and been so transformative in my life. And I'm writing another book and I'm doing background, and so a lot of this week has been shaded by me studying the esoterics at a deep level. So I don't find that that's a bad thing. I find that that's actually helping me, because when I speak to energy shifts and energy changes that have took place in my life, is all related to following cosmic law and understanding chakras and things of that nature. So you was so turned up. So this quote for the people who might be driving or on the forklift this morning. Here is a key principle of wisdom. Illusion operates throughout the personality, pervading the mental body as false beliefs, the emotional body as glamour, and the vital body as Maya. Understanding this principle implies deeply distrusting all reactions of the personality to life and circumstance, because illusion cannot even be recognized as illusion without the illumination of the soul. Now, if that's your first time hearing that, it's kind of hard to process. That's why I've probably read this probably over 100 times, just trying to process it, because each section of this paragraph speaks to a different aspect of how illusion controls our life. And when we reference illusion, we're just referencing the things that we hold to be true, the things that we hold to be factual, but after close examination, they're actually not factual. And the problem with you getting into your crystals and your chakras and your family members looking at you like, what in the world, is because you're illuminating your soul, and consciousness within itself is awareness, and it points out the illusions. I can no longer eat cow milk with you, Mom. I can no longer eat pork. I can no longer subject myself to slavery, all of these different things that we begin to change because we are aware. We begin to spend time in nature. We begin to eat healthier, express our love in deeper ways. And when people cannot express that love back, we separate ourselves. So all of this points to awareness, and the concept that we're working with is dealing with our personal planets today. Friday being ruled by Venus is conjunct Mars, is conjunct the Sun in the constellation of Leo. They're very close to one another, so the energy is good because these energies are balanced, right? We have Venus and Mars, and then we have the Sun. So we have a level of truth, we have a level of action, and we have a level of receptiveness in the process of illumination, in the process of self-sustainment, in the process of becoming a star, like the Sun. And these energies are trine Uranus and Aries, square the Moon, and sidereal Taurus. And so to build up into how we got here, throughout the week, we've been discussing topics such as purification, connection, and boldness. And we're going in order with this. We don't want to be bold without purification, nor do we want to connect without purification. We want to purify our mind first. And so the question might come up, how do I purify myself? The answer to that is mindfulness, being present, and washing the mind with the primordial waters of noon. And this is accessed through darkness, and this is accessed through meditation. Lighting candles in a dark room, it releases a hormone, and this hormone purifies the mind. So the idea, before we go outside, we go inside. We are going within to gain insight, to gain direction, to be guided. And we're just learning the processes. We're learning the steps. So therefore, we're not confused on the action steps that we need to take. We deal with the internal, and furthermore, before I get into the build, let's look at this opening quote so we can understand the ideal of consciousness. The idea of consciousness, the idea of awareness, the idea of power is found when you look at yourself from within at a hierarchical level. When you notice that you have a conscious mind, then you notice that you have a subconscious, and these energies unified represents the superconscious. I referenced earlier in the week the movie Superbad. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, it sounds crazy to you, watch the movie Superbad. And it'll explain this concept right here. And the moral of that story, if you don't like watching movies because you're too woke, unaware, is that higher self, it represents all the weapons, all the tools, all the answers, everything you need is found in resonating with a higher self, being aware of a higher self. First and foremost, this is primary. Before we start worried about paying rent, going to work, baby daddy, etc., mama, daddy, etc., kids, school clothes, parent teacher conferences, etc. That's important, but when we factor in our mind and universal law, the mind is all, we have to understand which mind we're talking about. Because the conscious mind may be somewhat confusing and somewhat of a block. So today, we'll discuss some concepts that have been brought about previously throughout the week, but we're just gonna understand it from an astrological perspective, I don't know why that word escaped me so long. And then just kind of make it present. Deal with today, right? Today is important. Today can alter your life. But you have to be in today. Sometimes we're today, but we're thinking about the future. But it's about to be 2020. The future is now, my friend. The future is now. So all of the things that you used to wish for yourself in this space and time, it is now time to bring it into manifest. And the reason why it's not manifesting the way you want it to is because you just don't know how to do it. So the idea is to have an open mind to learn and understand how to manifest. So mental pictures, right? Imagine anything right now. Imagine anything. See how easy it is to imagine? That is cosmic law. Now, that is the formless void consciousness awareness. Your mental picture processing center is infinite. It can imagine all types of things. Where it has to find balances is what you actually can do in the form, in the manifestation. Just so happens you could do a lot in this realm too. But there are certain rules. Just the way that your mind and body works together, your hands just don't isolate themselves, your legs don't isolate themselves. In order to get somewhere, a whole bunch of things have to happen in order for you to get from point A to point B. As above, so below. So learning how to incorporate people and learning how to not just say, this shit ain't gonna work because I don't see how it's gonna work. We're dealing with the process of making bread. Now, I've never made bread before, so I know y'all probably have. The ladies on the live know about making bread and the power of yeast. And so I'm just referencing this because this is where Venus sits, the Sabian symbol, in reference to this book by Dr. Mark Edmund Jones, Sabian Symbols in Astrology, says that the 8th degree mark of Leo speaks to leaven or yeast, and this just represents invisible powers. How something so little, something so intangible could actually create sustenance for you. But like it's crazy. It's just so weird. It's so bizarre. It's so magical how this little piece of yeast can transform this flour into this edible substance that has fed people for millennia, or corn, or any type of vegetable, or anything that needs earth energies to sustain itself is kind of magical as a process. Childbirth, magical as a process. So we're focusing in on that. We're not focusing on the tangible, on the technical, on the rational, logical side of the boat with this one. And then if we deal with the right brain first, or we deal with the invisible world first, then that creates an intent, that creates a level of importance or priorities, which Mars is in control of. Mars is simply saying, you tell me what's important. Based upon the mental image that you create, I'm going to... So another way to look at this is creating a blueprint for a contractor. What's your responsibility in the process? Is not to gather wood and think about how you're going to actually build it. It's really about design. First and foremost, nothing in this world that's actually created is just like, I'm gonna just really just go for it and see how it turns out. That's not really sustainable long term. So by creating particular mental pictures that represent blueprints to your life into how things will go, that within itself creates an intent. But it's all about priorities. It's all about what brain are you activating first. Because another level of this is the mundane. The word is perfunctory. Huh? Thank you. The word is described as perfunctory, where you just doing things because the world, the mundane world says do it. And then that becomes the block when trying to balance or relate to the sublime or relate to the metaphysical, because the physical has inundated you with what it feels like to be right and exact. And you've worked your life, you've used your spiritual reserves and resources to accommodate and to build up an illusionary world. So the idea is to pause, be introspective, because in detaching from your emotions, you're realizing that your emotions aren't real. You can start with the simple, easy emotions, then deal with the real, intense, blocking, heavy emotions. The trick to this, the very simple trick, is to think about your emotions instead of experiencing, living them, and identifying with them. Whether it's happy or sadness, you can even think about it and examine your surroundings. Like, damn, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling sad? In that moment, that sadness can't exist. Thinking about it. So take advantage of this simple but powerful tool. And so this leads us into the purpose of healing, right? Because even though we get to a point of healing, even though we get to a point of satisfaction within our spiritual journey, it does not end there. So the sun speaks to contrast in the Sabian symbols and astrology book. The 6th degree mark of Leo speaks to contrast. So even the bread that we break or the bread that we make is not to say that we're just going to sit and bake this bread for us. We make the bread for the tribe, and then we share with the tribe, because within that space we are one and we are in alignment with the power of God. You don't know how much you helping or giving is sustaining lives at this point, just based on people giving to one another. We could build a whole society on giving if everybody contently gave. So I've been making it a point to, when I can, give, even if my last I'm gonna give before I think about hoarding, because I realize that it's much dependent on the energy flow of receiving. Because the times where I'm holding back and hoarding, I'm realizing that I'm not holding on to shit because I'm still spending. But when I'm giving and consciously giving, it's like magical things start to happen for me. And you can read any law of attraction book in reference to money, they're going to tell you the same thing. So it must have some truth to it. The idea of breaking bread. And another level of breaking bread is looking for others for inspiration and motivation and reliance. Not being around people because you can take advantage of them, but being around people because you can learn from them or be inspired from them, or they motivate you to be a better person. And then one would say this is difficult, Hood Mystic, because I've been alone for the past 8 years, 2 years, 3 years. You know how people ain't shit, da-da-da-da-da. I get that. But we have to always resort to our primary focus and our priorities, and when referencing what's going to happen in our lives, is that the situation that you want to create for yourself, or have you disengaged from your power center? If you cut the power off and then tell me how dark it is, and you have the power to plug in the power, then you can't do anything but shadow project. You can't do anything but look at the world as an evil place. But once we realize that it's our responsibility to cut on the light and engage with the light so we can see, we'll continuously be on the path of blind leading the blind to nowhere fast. The idea of this channel, the idea of this content is to follow yourself. And even though I'm saying that now and for the next 20 years, it's not really going to sink into people. It's not something that's easily understood, because it's always your boyfriend at the end of the day. It's always your wife at the end of the day. It's always your job at the end of the day with people. That's more important. That is the priority to conscious development. Thus, blocks you from giving because you're too busy. So, make sure you can comprehend the concept of making bread than breaking bread. You don't need much to make bread. You need just a little bit of yeast. Not that kind of yeast that got you in trouble last weekend, but the magical yeast that makes the bread. And then you don't do it for yourself. You do it as a form of meditation, a form of ritual, a form of rite of passage, a form of indicating to the universe what you are prepared for. Giving indicates that this is what you want the universe to do for you. Hoarding is indicating what the universe will do as you are in that space. Holding back, not giving, is what the universe is going to mirror your actions. Please understand this. You want to scheme and plot and da. That's what the universe is going to do to your ass. So don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Right? Dope segue into laughter. Identifying passion, because there's a mythology surrounding Vulcan. Vulcan was married to Venus, and Vulcan told Venus, "Hey babe, I'm about to go out of town. You know, I gotta go to Tartarus, take care of some business." And she like, okay. And but he set a trap because he knew Venus and Mars was cheating on him. And it's interesting because Venus and Mars are conjunct, and this is the day of Vulcan. And so this is kind of like, it's kind of ironic that this mythology and this astrology lines up so perfectly. So Vulcan sets up Mars and Venus, and he sets like these bronze wires that like they can't even be seen by the gods. They're so thin because Vulcan is a inventor. He's a scientist. He's a blacksmith. He can make anything, right? He can do anything. So he makes this bronze trap, tricks Venus and Mars, and they're just stuck there. And they're stuck in this pose like infidelity, caught red-handed. And so Vulcan, being petty, he calls all of the gods down to come look at these fools butt naked, caught in the act, you know. And the moral of that story is because after they were caught, in this adulterous relationship, they didn't even see each other. Venus and Mars, they didn't even see each other any longer. Because what was thought to be a passion was only a passion because it was done in secret. For we think the things that we love, we truly love, but we don't tell nobody about it because they would probably laugh at us. You talk to who? Why is you dealing with him? Why is you dealing with her? Are you safe? Type of deal. So find it very interesting in a practical sense to re-examine the things that you do in secret. And because what we're dealing with is priorities, we're dealing with purification, and everything on the surface seems cool, but there's always things that we do in the dark that are more relevant and more prevalent because they are the things closest to us and the most intimate things. So when it talks about washing away patterns and washing away habits, not the known things that you can easily talk about, but the real secretive thing, and bringing a light to them and being able to laugh about shit as well. Another level to this is that this energy is trine Uranus, so there is a level of ease to this where you could be either on the mundane side of just going to work, and that part of life is just cool, everything cool at work, you know, everything cool. Or you could be doing something in the realms of passion, in the realms of truth, awareness, meditation, astral purification, baptism, soul baptism, that would allow you to trust in this cosmic law so tough, and trust on the mental pictures so tough, and start to bring these things into, like, it's a puzzle that I've noticed that these pieces are now forming and creating the picture. It was once a broken glass, but there's a point that the world is a movie. It's a couple movies. That Mr. Nobody, I think that's the name of the movie. Don't get me wrong. Mr. Nobody speaks to it, but there's a point to life where it goes so far in entropy where things break and spread. Like, the whole point of the universe is to spread and to break down, but that's not forever. It's a finite point. And once it reaches that finite point, things begin to come back to fuck together. Okay? So the effort is in awareness of the process of unification of the soul, because the soul is the history, the legacy, the sovereignty, the divinity, not your goddamn college degree, your relationship, or your pay wage. As Amazon fires burn and countless atrocities occur over the planet, you will not be able to eat money. Okay, you will not be able to hug and love money when the world goes to shit. The only thing you will have is your family, your love, and the way of adapting and living in a world that is changing. We can argue all day about this and that. What we cannot argue about is that the world is changing. So as the world changes, so much your mind, so much your priorities, and how you adapt and deal with it. You could be afraid and not take it to the next level, but hey, once you caught the tiger by the tail, you cannot let it go because you already pissed it off. Right? And that speaks to the card of the day, Princess of Wands. She holds a wand in one hand and a tiger by the tail in another. There's a lot of different mythologies surrounding tigers and tails. One of my most favorite mythologies is that of Parvati in the mountain meditating, doing tapasya because Shiva broke her heart. She didn't care. She was in the jungles, in the mountain, and a lion said, "Ooh, I got me one." But he didn't know Parvati was in such deep meditation that the tiger was about to pounce on her, and right as he pounced on her, the tiger froze. The message and the lesson of that is that when you are divining, when you are meditating, when you are connected, when you are in alignment, can't nothing eat you, right? Now, if she would have got out of her meditation and got fearful, the tiger would have did what the tiger was gonna do. The Princess of Wands, because we're dealing with the primordial, we're dealing with the potential, we're dealing with the ability to create and the ability to be young too. To not be advanced, so advanced that we cannot learn. So it's a malleable, productive potential, power. It's all in one. So we want to deal with the princesses this week. And I feel like these been powerful cards to really deal with. My personal opinion. So the Princess of Wands is naturally reactive to the mundane, to just things that don't fall into alignment. And the path that she's on, if you see her floating, and you see, because once Parvati got out of her meditation and she looked at the tiger in the frozen posture, she freed him. And that tiger was her vehicle and protection for the remainder of her existence, even to this point now. Find it no coincidence that I'm studying Parvati and Shakti, and then this card and the tiger and the symbolism is there. So the energy of Parvati supersedes the energy of this card. So when we discuss Parvati, we discuss manifestation. We discuss the power of manifestation. And in order for Parvati or Shakti or Kali to manifest, consciousness must be engaged. Shiva and Shakti coming together in the crown chakra represents the formless, those mental ideas, those blueprints, and the form, the foreman, the contractor, building upon those mental ideas together. Okay? Very simple stuff, yet very powerful. The Princess of the Princess of Swans. The Princess of Wands represents a nourishing energy. She rules Leo, and Leo represents enthusiasm. The etymology to the word enthusiasm is God within, self-sustaining fire. If you want to get into that, check out the new moon video where we get into Leo. But the card that rules this, we see the burning altar as well. The ability to bring these two things in our lives, like we can. But the thing of it is that blueprint or that mental image is usually producing sad buildings, traumatized apartments, roach infested projects. You know, we've given up on the blueprint part. But the blueprint part is the most important part. So the Princess of Wands speaks to relationships that nourish you. Relationships where you can pour into them. It's discernment and knowing the difference between relationships that nourish you to relationships that drain you. Taking a look at our lifestyle and from there making the necessary changes. We all have fears. We all have negative patterns representing the tiger, but we are able to control the tiger by utilizing our original creator self. We created the tiger. We created the beast of the wild, the trees, the plants, the mountains. We just forgotten that power. So, remembering this power, coming into this week and fully aligned represents how we could manufacture and manifest a spiritual breakthrough for ourselves. How did it go? This is an ace, king, queen, jack. I don't think there is a princess in the playing deck. Unless you want to call the queen the princess and then, well, no, that don't work either. Damn, that's a deep question. It's deep. I don't know. John is upstairs. I don't know. John is probably pissed off because he ain't down here talking to y'all. Y'all John's people. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a talk piece for John. I know it sounds weird, but that little dude got more power than I can even fathom. So I just be happy that I'm his dad, and I just kind of just stick by him. Or he stick by me, I don't know. So we got a real weird relationship. But I don't know, it's just one of those things where you don't really focus on anything else but the cultivation of your family. So when it speaks to birthday gifts and what do I require, what do I need, it's just being with my family is the gift and the present that, you know, I get every single day. And I don't know why everybody doesn't feel the way that I feel about their family, but I do know why, you know, because I was once a person who did not connect to themselves or believe in their soul. I believed in the external world to guide me. And only when I deduced it to illusion and got to the real core of what it is to be me, I found that it was found in awareness and love being synonymous terms. And so wherever I can give love, I tend to give love. I'll give love to the point of exhaustion, restore myself, and give love again. And so that's just me. So you have to figure out a formula for yourself. So be sure to check out goodmystic.com. It's a link to my new workbook on there. I'm getting positive reviews. If you did get the workbook and you managed to look at it, please send me an email and tell me what you thought. Give a review on Amazon. I need honest feedback because I can revise it. I can make it better. So just let me know what you think. But you know, speaking of family, this video has been like 40 minutes away, and it's kind of, I want to get back to that. So I'm gonna end this video and just wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys again on Monday. Peace.